Welcome to Graphic Games. In this video, I will teach you how to create a complete quiz game in Unity. We will cover everything from setting up the UI and adding questions to implementing categories, a scoring system, and saving progress. By the end of this video, you'll have all the knowledge you need to build your own quiz game in Unity. Let's get started. The first thing you will need to do is create a script folder. Next, go ahead and create an image that will serve as the question image. You can move it and scale it to whatever size you like. Now, let's add a UI text element. Before we proceed, we need to import Text Mesh Pro Essential Package. Click Import and wait for the package to finish installing. Select question text and type in a question or whatever text you prefer. Then, adjust font size and the alignment to fit your needs. Next, we will add an empty game object to hold our reply buttons. Adjust its size however you like. With the game object selected, right-click and add a UI button. Let's name it Reply. Now, select the button's text component and change it to Reply in the input field. Then, change the font style and size to your liking. To keep everything organized, we are going to add a grid layout component to the Replies game object. To do this, select the game object, click Add Components and type Grid. Choose Grid Layout Group from the options. Now, let's adjust the width and height of the button. Set the alignment to middle center, and for spacing, set 25 on both X and Y axes. Finally, go ahead and duplicate the button 4 times. And to keep things tidy, I'll rename each button accordingly. To create a scriptable object, we first need to create a C# script. Let's name it question data. In this script, we will define a question class. This class will hold all the essential informations for each quiz question, such as the question text, possible replies, index of the correct reply, and even an image associated with the question. The question text is the actual question that will be displayed to the player. Replies will be an array of strings that holds all the possible replies the player can choose from. Correct reply index, an integer that indicates which reply in the array is the correct one. The question image allows us to attach an image to each question. Next, we will create a question data scriptable object to hold a category of questions. The Create Asset menu attribute makes it easy to create a new instance of question data right from the Unity editor. You can find it in the Assets folder. Right-click, then under Create, navigate to Quiz and select Category. This will generate a new scriptable object file where you can input quiz details. Scriptable objects are a good way to manage large amounts of data, and they make it easy to organize different categories of questions for quiz games. In this scriptable object, we will have a public string category name, which will hold the name of the category and an array of questions that allows us to store multiple questions under a single category. We use Scriptable Object to keep data separate from the game logic. This makes it easy to edit and manage questions and replies directly from the editor. Once you have saved your script, head back to Unity. Since we'll be using multiple categories, let's change the file name in the Create Asset menu to New Category. Now, head back to Unity. In the Assets folder, right-click, go to Create, navigate to Quiz, and select Question Data. Let's add a category for our quiz game. For example, Flags. When we select the Flags category, we can easily manage all data for this category directly from the editor. This allows us to edit the category name, questions, replies, the correct reply index, and the question image sprite. In the next part, we'll be creating a game manager script, which will hold all the game logic. First, we need to create a game manager script in the scripts folder. Next, create a game object in the hierarchy and name it Game Manager. Attach the Game Manager script to it. Now, open the script. Make sure to import TextMesh Pro and Unity Engine UI namespaces. In this script, we have an array that holds all categories, where each category is a different question data scriptable object. We will also need a reference to the selected category's question data scriptable object, and an index to track the current question within the selected category, a UI element to display the question text, image, and reply buttons. Let's create a select category method that allows us to choose which category to use. In this method, we set the selected category to the chosen category's question data scriptable object, and we reset the current question index to start from the first question in the selected category. We'll use the display question method to show the first question in the selected category. First, we check if a category has been selected. Then we get the current question from the selected category and display it in the question text UI, as well as the question image sprite. Next, we loop through all reply buttons and set their text to corresponding replies, so each button displays a reply. When a player selects a reply, the onReplySelected method will check if the selected reply is correct. If it's correct, we will display a debug log that says correct reply. If it's not correct, we will display a debug log that says wrong reply. After a reply is selected, we will increase the current question index by 1 and proceed to the next question by calling the displayQuestion method again. If all questions have been replied, the quiz will finish, and we will display a debug log that says quiz finished. We also need to add a stat method. Since we only have one category for now, we will call the selectCategory method and set the value to 0. Head over to Unity Editor. Here you can add a question, 4 replies, the correct reply index, and the question image sprite. I've already created a flag folder and added 5 flag images. If we hit play, the first question will be displayed, but when we choose the correct reply, we might encounter a null reference error because we haven't completed all the questions yet. So next, we will need to add all the questions. As I mentioned earlier, we need to add all the questions. So now, let's create the second question with its 4 replies, the correct reply index, question image sprite, and so on for all the remaining questions. Once all questions are added, if we hit play, everything should work as expected, and all the questions will be displayed correctly. Now it's time to create a score system for our quiz game. First, add a UI text element and name it score. Adjust the text input, font size, and alignment as you like. Then position it in the top right corner. Next, create a score script and a score manager game object. Then, attach the script to the game object. Open the score script. And the first thing we need to do is to import the Text Mesh Pro namespace. We will create a variable to store the current score and add a reference to the Text Mesh Pro UI for displaying the score. In the start method, initialize the score to 0 and call the update score text method to update the score display. The update score text method will simply update the score display, showing the current score on the UI text. Next, create a public addScore method to increase score by a specific amount. Then update the score again. Also, create a subtract score method to decrease score by a specific amount, and then we update the score. Now, let's edit the game manager script. We will create a reference to the score manager and add two public integers: correct reply set it to 10 and wrong reply set to 5. In the onReplySelected method, if the player selects the correct reply, we call addScore method from the score script and pass in the correct reply value. If the player selects the wrong reply, we will call the subtract method and pass in the wrong reply value. Go back to Unity. In the hierarchy, create a game object named Score Manager and assign the score script to it. Drag the score text UI into the score text field. Now, if we hit play and choose the right reply, we might get a null reference error because we didn't reference the score manager in the game manager. To fix this, drag the score manager game object into the score manager field in the game manager. Hit play again, and now it should work perfectly. Next, we will cover how to save and load the score. To save and load the score, we need to add a few lines in the score manager script. First, add a public string score key. This will be used to store the key for the score in a player pref. Next, create a public method called SaveScore. In this method, use player prefs to store the score value under the score key. Then, create another public method called loadScore. In this method, check if playerPref has the key stored. If not, set the score value to 0. Call the saveScore method right after the updateScore text method to ensure that the score is saved every time it is updated. Go back to Unity, play the game, choose Replies again, and you should see that the previous score is saved and loaded correctly. Next, we will create a hint button that allows us to show only correct reply. This button will be used to give players a hint by revealing the correct reply. Start by adding a UI button and name it Show Correct Reply button. Adjust its appearance and position as you like. In the Game Manager script, create a correct reply index variable to track the index of the correct reply. Then, create a public method called showCorrectReply. This method will be called whenever the hint button is clicked. In this method, we set all wrong reply buttons to be non-interactable and keep only the correct reply button interactable. Go back to Unity, select the button, and assign the showCorrectReply method to its onClick event. Now, if we play the game and click the hint button, only the correct reply button will be visible. To ensure that everything resets properly for the next question, go back to the Game Manager script and create a Reset Buttons method. This method will reset all buttons to their default state. In the display question method, call the reset buttons method right after checking the selected category to make sure buttons are reset for each new question. In the next step, we will create a game finished panel. First, create a new panel and name it Game Finished. This panel will include a game finished text and the final score text. In the Game Manager script, add a variable to track the count of the correct replies. Name it Correct Replies. This variable will keep track of how many questions the player replied correctly. Right after you update the score for a correct reply, increase the correct replies count by 1. Next, create a public method called showGameFinishedPanel. This method will activate the GameFinishEd panel, which is set to inactive in the start method. Also, update the final score UI text to display the score as the number of the correct replies divided by the total number of questions in the category. Let's call the showGameFinishEd panel in else statement, which handles the end of the quiz. Create a reference to the final score UI text in the Game Manager script. Go back to Unity, select Game Manager Game Object, and assign the Game Finished panel and the final score text to the corresponding fields. Now, when you hit play and complete all questions, the Game Finished panel will be shown, and the final score will be displayed. Next, we will create a category manager. First, create a new scene and name it category. Add a background and a UI text as a title. Next, create a game object to hold the category buttons. Then, create a UI button for each category. Add a grid layout component to this game object and adjust it to fit your needs. I have already made an icon for the flags category, which you can add to the button. Create a category manager script and assign it to a game object named category manager in the hierarchy. Open the category manager script and import Unity Engine Scene Management namespace. In this script, create a method called onCategorySelected. This will store the selected category using player prefs and then load quiz scene. In the Game Manager script, update the start method to include a selected category variable. This variable will retrieve the saved selected category. Use this variable to update the category selection. Go back to Unity, select the category button, and assign onCategorySelected method from the Category Manager script to the button's onClick event. Set the category index to 0 for now. Before testing, add the category scene to the build settings. Hit play, click the button, and verify that the category is loaded correctly. After adding a new category called General Knowledge, you might find that it's not loading correctly when you hit play and choose it. This issue is because you need to assign the new category Scriptable Object in the Game Manager. To fix this, open the Game Manager. and find the field for categories. Drag the new General Knowledge category Scriptable Object into the appropriate field in the Game Manager. Now, when you hit play and select the new category, which has an index of 1, it should load correctly and work as expected. Next, we will create a reset score method to reset score. To reset the score, we need to update our score script. Create a new method called resetScore. This method will delete all saved keys in player prefs using player prefs delete all. Then set the score value to 0 and update the score text to ensure the new score is displayed after the reset. Go back to Unity and duplicate the Show Correct Reply button, rename it to Reset. In the onClick function, assign the score manager and select the Reset Score method. When you play the game and click the Reset button, the score will be set to 0. It's time to create a quiz menu. First, create a new scene and adjust it as you did in the previous scenes by adding a background, text, and 3 UI buttons: play, reset, and exit. Change the camera background color and add a background image. Then add a UI text element as the title of the scene. Create 3 UI buttons. And add a game object. Next, create a menu script. Attach the menu script to the game object and open the script. Import the scene management namespace and create 3 methods. Play method. This method will open the category scene when clicked. Reset method. This method will reset the quiz game. Exit method. This method will allow the player to quit the game. Go back to Unity, select each button, and assign the corresponding methods. Make sure to add the menu scene to the build settings. Hit play, and now when you click play, it will open the category scene. Let's save and load the progress. To save and load progress, make change to the Game Manager script. Add two methods. Save progress. This method will save the score for a specific category. It will store the player's current progress in this quiz by saving the current question index, representing the player's position within the selected category. Progress for each category is saved separately. Load progress method. This method retrieves the saved question index from player prefs when the game starts, allowing the player to resume from the last unreplied question. If no data is found, it defaults to starting from the first question. In the start method, call the load progress method right after selecting the category. The category index will be the selected category index. Scroll down to the onReply selected method. When a player replies to a question, call the save progress method when a new question is loaded. Go back to Unity and play the game. The score and the player progress will be saved, and each category will have its own progress saving key. You've now created a complete quiz game in Unity, and you can customize it as you like. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, hit like button, share your feedback in the comments, and subscribe for more Unity tutorials.